You were genuine. You showed interest, cared about the details, offered attention. And yet, she pulled away as if none of it had value. That feeling of being ignored, of realizing that sincere giving isn't enough, eats you up inside. It's as if every gesture had been wasted, and the only response was her silence. This moment is not just rejection. It's a mirror reflecting your own vulnerability. You feel you've lost ground, that you gave more than you should have. But here's the key. The pain proves you're still seeking recognition outside, when real strength lies in reclaiming your center. The female mind reacts invisibly. It's not just what you do, but how you position yourself in the void after each interaction. Fascination doesn't come from excess, but from absence. It's in that unfilled space that desire begins to grow. The detail that captivates isn't what you show in excess, but what you sustain in silence. The mirror of absence. Have you noticed how her silence weighs more than any word? When you send a message and get no reply, when you show care and only meet coldness, what hurts is not the lack of communication, but the feeling of not being seen. That emptiness confirms a deep fear, not being enough. Female desire isn't driven by excess attention, but by the space you maintain. Strategic silence isn't indifference, it's magnetism. Like an unfinished painting, the absence of final lines forces the mind to imagine what's missing. When you open all the doors and reveal everything, you kill the mystery. The human brain craves what it can't have immediately. For women, this touches the root of emotional curiosity. Every absence, when intentional, becomes presence inside her. While most men beg for attention, the one who sustains silence creates contrast. He doesn't beg, doesn't negotiate, he becomes the missing piece. This awakens the instinct to chase what seems to slip away. Well-measured absence doesn't push away, it draws closer. She stops asking, "Does he like me?" and starts asking, "Why can't I stop thinking about him?" At its core, absence is a mirror. When you withdraw, you're not showing coldness, but revealing that your life doesn't revolve around her. That wholeness is irresistible. The man who doesn't lose himself over a woman is the man she can't forget. The invisible contrast. She isn't captivated only by what you say, but by the energy in the details. The weight of your voice, the firmness of your gaze, the rhythm of your gestures. The invisible contrast happens when you combine firmness and gentleness, intensity and calm, dominance and serenity. She perceives it even if she doesn't rationalize it. The man who is only firm projects rigidity. The one who is only sweet projects fragility. But the man who balances both suggests depth. This contrast activates an ancestral code in her. Strength allied with control. Your presence stands out, not by volume but by impact. Like a melody where the softest note echoes the most. In moments of pressure, the man who explodes is predictable. The one who withdraws loses respect. But the one who smiles slightly, answers unhurriedly, and keeps his eyes steady shows sovereignty. The unexpected is always magnetic. When she expects a justification and you respond with silence, it creates dissonance. When she imagines anger and finds serenity, it creates impact. These moments break the pattern and stick in memory. This magnetism doesn't come from artificial techniques, but from real presence. Calm is only true when it comes from inner security. The detail that captivates isn't the isolated gesture, but the energy flowing through it. Depth is what she fears most and desires most. Something impossible to fully decode, yet impossible to ignore. The trigger of emotional memory. What remains is not the moment itself, but the sensation afterward. Emotional memory works like an invisible tattoo, not in her eyes right now, but in her mind when she lays her head on the pillow. Small gestures break the pattern. A gaze held 1 second longer. A pause that creates suspense. A short reply when she expected explanation. It's not grandeur that leaves a mark, but subtlety. Neuroscience shows that intense emotions amplify memories. She won't recall the gesture itself, but the emotion it carried. That's why she often can't explain why she thinks of you. If you give everything, there's no room for projection. But when you leave something unresolved, her mind works to complete it. The more incomplete, the more it repeats inside her. Emotional memory is not manipulation, but conscious presence. Impact comes not from excess, but from the depth of a detail. The unconscious test, every woman, consciously or not, puts you to the test. They show up as sudden coldness, delayed responses, or comments that poke at your ego. Many men react with desperation, but what truly captivates is passing through these tests with controlled indifference. When she criticizes, she expects you to justify yourself. When she pulls away, she expects you to chase. If you break down, you show dependence. But the man who remains calm shows a rare power, the ability not to prove anything. Controlled indifference is not disdain. It's not letting yourself be dragged in. It's the difference between reacting and responding. Reacting is instinctive, defensive. Responding is conscious, strategic. This maturity sparks desire because it shows you don't depend on her approval. The hidden symbol, what truly binds a woman, are the symbols created between you. Little secret codes, a gaze held at a certain moment, a short phrase only you two understand. These create exclusivity. A simple gesture can bring back an entire memory. They are emotional anchors that can't be copied. The detail that captivates lies in this impossibility of reproduction. These symbols aren't tricks, but revelations. They create invisible layers between emotion and memory. And when her body is far, it's her mind that keeps being pulled back to you. The detail that captivates was never in exaggerated gestures, but in the subtle points. Absence that creates presence, contrast that generates magnetism, memory that lingers calm in the face of tests and unique symbols. What once felt like rejection can turn into clarity. True power is not in convincing, but in sustaining. Not in molding yourself to her expectations, but in standing firm in who you are. This magnetism isn't built with memorized lines, but with emotional discipline and inner alignment. When your absence communicates value, when your silence speaks louder than justifications, when your symbols become unforgettable, you cease to be just another man. Desire is born from the reflection you provoke within her, from the void that turns into constant presence. In the end, it's not about impressing, but about sustaining your energy. The man anchored in himself doesn't need to show off. His stability itself becomes a symbol, and that symbol cannot be forgotten.